The slap never landed. But the silence that followed felt louder than a gunshot. Every conversation inside the luxury shopping mall stopped. Every head turned. Every phone rose. And standing in the center of the polished marble floor was a man who looked as though he owned the world. Kang Min-Jae, 36 years old. CEO. Hotel magnate. Heir to one of Korea's most powerful business families. And at that moment, very drunk. His expensive suit jacket hung loosely from one shoulder. His tie was half undone. His eyes burned with alcohol and anger. Directly in front of him stood a woman holding 3 shopping bags and a broken expression. Amara Johnson. 29. Curvy. Quiet. Smart. And suddenly the center of everyone's attention. "You embarrassed me," Min-Jae said loudly. The crowd froze. Amara's fingers tightened around the shopping bags. "What are you talking about?" she asked softly. His laugh echoed through the atrium. "You really have to ask?" The expensive watch on his wrist flashed beneath the mall lights as he pointed toward her. "You walk around looking like that beside me?" The words hit harder than any slap. Gasps spread through nearby shoppers. Amara blinked. Once. Twice. As if her mind refused to process what she'd just heard. Then Min-Jae took another step forward. "You think people don't notice?" His voice grew louder. "I bring you into places like this, and you make me look ridiculous." Someone nearby whispered, "Oh my God." Amara felt hundreds of eyes watching, judging, waiting. The humiliation spread through her chest like fire. For 2 years she had stood beside him, supported him, defended him, loved him. And now, this. In public. In front of strangers. But what happened next changed everything. A teenage girl standing near a luxury handbag store suddenly stepped forward. "Leave her alone." The entire crowd turned. The girl couldn't have been older than 17. Yet she stood between Min-Jae and Amara. Fearless. Min-Jae stared at her. "What?" "You heard me." The girl folded her arms. "Leave her alone." More phones appeared. More cameras. More witnesses. Something unexpected was happening. The crowd was no longer watching. The crowd was choosing sides. And for the first time all afternoon, nobody was choosing his. If stories about unexpected reunions, hidden truths, and life-changing decisions keep you hooked, subscribe and join us for more unforgettable journeys. Like this video if you believe one moment can change a person's destiny, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Min-Jae looked around. He expected fear, respect, obedience. Instead, he saw disgust. A mother shook her head. A businessman frowned. A security guard began walking toward him. The atmosphere shifted. The powerful CEO suddenly looked less powerful. And the woman he'd humiliated suddenly looked far more important than anyone realized. Amara lowered her gaze. Not because she was ashamed. Because she was trying not to cry. "Let's go home," she whispered. But Min-Jae wasn't finished. "Home?" He laughed again. "No." His expression hardened. "You know what? We're done." The words landed like ice. Done. After 2 years. Done. The crowd erupted with murmurs. Amara stared at him. Something inside her broke. Not loudly. Quietly. The way a bridge cracks before collapsing. She nodded once. Then placed the shopping bags on the floor. One by one. Carefully. Deliberately. The gesture confused everyone. Including Min-Jae. Then she removed a small key from her purse. And placed it on top of the bags. The key to his penthouse. The key to their life together. The key to every promise he'd made. Gone. The mall fell silent again. Amara looked directly into his eyes. For the first time all day. And when she spoke, her voice didn't shake. "Thank you." Min-Jae frowned. "For what?" She smiled sadly. "For finally showing me who you really are." Then she turned and walked away. No shouting. No revenge. No tears. Just dignity. And somehow, that hurt him more than if she had screamed. The crowd parted for her. Like a queen leaving a battlefield. Nobody stopped her. Nobody laughed. Nobody judged. Instead, many watched with admiration. and a few even applauded. Min-Jae's face darkened. Humiliation was unfamiliar territory, especially for someone who had spent his life winning. But he still didn't understand the biggest mistake he'd made, because Amara Johnson was not who he believed she was. Not even close. 3 hours later, rain poured across Seoul. Lightning flashed beyond the skyline, and Amara sat alone inside a quiet luxury hotel suite. Not crying, not drinking, not calling friends. Instead, she was staring at a sealed envelope. An envelope she'd carried for months. One she never intended to open. Until today. Her hands trembled. Then she broke the seal. Inside was a letter. And one photograph. The moment she saw the image, her entire body froze. No! The whisper escaped before she could stop it. Because the man in the photograph wasn't a stranger. It was Kang Min-Jae, taken years ago. Standing beside someone she hadn't seen since childhood. Someone who should have been impossible. Someone connected to a secret her late father had taken to his grave. A secret worth millions. A secret powerful enough to destroy careers. And according to the letter, Min-Jae wasn't just connected to it. His family was at the center of it. Amara slowly looked toward the rain-covered window. Her heartbeat accelerated. Questions exploded through her mind. Had their relationship been a coincidence? Had someone planned this? Who had sent the letter? And why now? Outside, thunder shook the city. Inside, Amara unfolded the second page. Then her face turned pale. Because the final sentence read, "If Kang Min-Jae discovers what you truly inherited, neither of you will survive the consequences." The thunder rolled across Seoul like distant drums. Amara read the final sentence again. And again. And again. The words refused to make sense. If Kang Min-Jae discovers what you truly inherited, neither of you will survive the consequences. Outside the hotel suite, rain streaked down the floor-to-ceiling windows in silver rivers. Inside, the silence felt suffocating. Her fingers tightened around the letter. Who had sent it? Why now? And what exactly had her father been hiding all these years? The photograph trembled slightly in her hand. Min-Jae looked younger in the image. Maybe 23. Standing beside an older man wearing a dark overcoat. A man Amara recognized instantly. Her father's closest friend. The same man who had disappeared 18 years earlier without explanation. The same man authorities had searched for. The same man nobody ever found. A cold chill traveled down her spine. This wasn't coincidence. Somebody wanted her to see this. The question was why. Her phone suddenly vibrated. Unknown number. Amara hesitated. Then answered. Hello. Silence. Only breathing. Slow. Steady. Intentional. Her heartbeat quickened. Who's this? A man's voice finally spoke. Low. Controlled. Dangerously calm. You shouldn't be alone tonight. Amara stood immediately. What? They know you opened the envelope. Every muscle in her body tightened. Who knows? The line went quiet. Then the stranger answered. The people your father spent 20 years hiding from. The call disconnected. Amara stared at the screen. Her pulse thundered in her ears. The room suddenly felt smaller. Every shadow seemed darker. Every sound seemed suspicious. And for the first time that night, she was genuinely afraid. Meanwhile, across the city, Kang Min-Jae sat alone inside the private lounge of the luxury hotel chain his family owned. A crystal glass rested in his hand. Untouched. For the first time since the incident at the mall, he was sober. And unfortunately, that made everything worse. The memories played repeatedly in his mind. The crowd. The phones. The disappointment in Amara's eyes. The applause when she walked away. His jaw tightened. Why couldn't he stop thinking about it? Normally people left. Normally relationships ended. Normally he moved on. So why did this feel different? The answer arrived unexpectedly. Because deep down, he knew he had crossed a line he could never uncross. The private elevator opened. His younger sister stepped inside. Kang Soo-min, 32. Sharp-minded. Fearlessly honest. And one of the few people willing to challenge him. She walked directly toward him. Without greeting. Without smiling. without hesitation. Then she slapped him. Hard. The crack echoed through the lounge. Min-Jae blinked. What was that for? Sumin folded her arms. For them all. You came here to hit me? No. Her eyes narrowed. I came here because I wanted to make sure the video wasn't fake. His stomach dropped. What video? Without answering, she placed her phone on the table. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. News headlines. Social media clips. Every angle. Every second. The humiliation had gone viral. Min-Jae stared. The color drained from his face. And then he saw something unexpected. The comments weren't focused on him. They were focused on Amara. People admired her, respected her, supported her. The internet had chosen a hero. And it wasn't the billionaire. Sumin sat down across from him. Do you know what's strange? He remained silent. Nobody cares that you're rich. She pointed at the screen. They care because she looked heartbroken. For the first time that evening, guilt appeared in Min-Jae's eyes. Sumin noticed immediately. And she asked the question he had been avoiding. Do you love her? Silence. The answer should have been simple. Yet somehow, it wasn't. Because if the answer was no, why did losing her suddenly feel unbearable? And if the answer was yes, then why had he destroyed everything? Across town, Amara barely slept. The mysterious phone call haunted her. The letter haunted her. The photograph haunted her. By dawn she made a decision. She needed answers. Real answers. The letter contained a return address. An old estate outside the city. A place she had never visited. A place connected to her father's past. By mid-morning she was driving through mist-covered hills beyond Seoul. The weather matched her mood. Gray. Uncertain. Heavy. The estate finally appeared through the fog. Large iron gates. Ancient stone walls. Overgrown gardens. A forgotten property frozen in time. Amara parked. Stepped out. And immediately sensed something strange. The gates were already open. As though someone had expected her. Her stomach tightened. She walked toward the mansion. The front door creaked open before she could knock. An elderly woman appeared. Elegant despite her age. Sharp despite the years. And when she saw Amara, tears filled her eyes. Oh, the woman whispered. You have your father's face. Amara froze. You knew him? The woman nodded. For most of my life. Questions exploded inside her mind. The woman stepped aside. Come in. The mansion smelled of old wood and forgotten memories. Portraits lined the walls. Family photographs filled display shelves. Decades of history. Decades of secrets. The woman led her into a study. Then carefully placed a leather journal on the desk. This belonged to your father. Amara stared. My father never mentioned this place. The woman smiled sadly. He couldn't. Why? The woman's expression darkened. Because some promises are more dangerous than lies. A knot formed in Amara's stomach. What promise? The elderly woman sat down slowly. Then revealed the truth. And everything changed. 25 years earlier. 3 families had built a business empire together. The Johnson family. The Kang family. And a third family whose name had been erased from public records. The partnership created enormous wealth. International influence. Power beyond imagination. But eventually, someone betrayed someone. Money disappeared. Documents vanished. People turned against each other. Friendships became enemies. And one night, everything collapsed. The fallout destroyed lives. Families separated. Careers ended. Disappearances followed, including the man in the photograph. Amara listened carefully. Her breathing slowed. Then one question surfaced. What does this have to do with me? The elderly woman hesitated, long enough to make Amara nervous. Then she answered. Because your father protected something. What? The woman pointed toward the journal. He protected ownership. Amara frowned. Ownership of what? The answer landed like lightning. The original company. Silence. Amara stared. The woman continued. Not part of it. Another pause. All of it. The room seemed to tilt. What? The legal ownership never disappeared. The elderly woman opened the journal. Several documents were tucked inside. Old contracts, original signatures, corporate records, evidence. Lots of evidence. Enough evidence to change everything. Enough evidence to challenge billion-dollar empires. Enough evidence to destroy powerful people. And according to those documents, the rightful heir wasn't Min-Jae. It wasn't his family. It wasn't any executive board. It was Amara. Her hands began shaking. This couldn't be real. Could it? Then she saw the signatures. Her father's. The Kang family patriarchs. And a third signature. One that made her blood run cold. Because she had seen it before. Recently. Very recently. The signature belonged to the man who had called her last night. The stranger knew everything. And somehow, he was still alive. The elderly woman looked terrified. Now do you understand? Amara swallowed hard. No. The woman leaned forward. People have spent decades searching for those documents. The realization hit like a freight train. The envelope. The phone call. The photograph. Someone had deliberately pushed her toward the truth. But why? Before she could ask, a loud crash echoed outside. Both women jumped. Another crash followed. Closer. Then came shouting. Several voices. Male. Aggressive. Searching. The elderly woman's face turned white. They found you. Amara's heartbeat exploded. What? They found you. The front door shattered downstairs. Heavy footsteps flooded the mansion. The hunt had begun. And whoever was coming wasn't interested in conversation. The elderly woman grabbed Amara's wrist. There isn't much time. Amara stared toward the doorway. Fear surged through her chest. Who are they? The woman answered with trembling lips. The same people who spent 20 years making sure nobody discovered who you really are. Footsteps thundered up the staircase. Closer. 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 Then suddenly, a gunshot echoed through the mansion. Everyone froze. The footsteps stopped. Silence followed. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3. Then a familiar voice echoed from downstairs. A voice Amara recognized instantly. A voice she never expected to hear again. Kang Min-Jae. The elderly woman's eyes widened. Amara's heart nearly stopped. Because somehow, the man she had left behind at the mall had just walked into the most dangerous secret of her life. And he had absolutely no idea what was waiting for him. The gunshot echoed through the mansion. Then silence. Heavy. Unnatural. The kind of silence that makes every heartbeat sound too loud. Amara stood frozen beside the study desk. The elderly woman gripped her arm tightly. Downstairs. Footsteps moved across shattered wood. Measured. Confident. Dangerously calm. Then the familiar voice rang out again. Kang Min-Jae. Amara couldn't believe it. Of all people. Why was he here? And how had he found her? The answer arrived seconds later. Another voice shouted from below. Move aside. No. Min-Jae's reply was immediate. Cold. Sharp. Uncompromising. I said move aside. A loud crash followed. Furniture overturned. Someone groaned. Then another crash. The elderly woman looked stunned. He came alone. Amara stared toward the doorway. That made no sense. Min-Jae was many things. Proud. Stubborn. Sometimes reckless. But not stupid. Yet somehow he had walked directly into a situation he didn't understand. And now he was standing between her and people who clearly meant harm. Why? The study door burst open. Min-Jae appeared. Breathing hard. His suit jacket torn. A cut above one eyebrow. But his eyes locked onto Amara immediately. Relief flashed across his face. Then anger. Then something else. Something deeper. Something he had been trying to deny. There you are. Amara stared. What are you doing here? He stepped inside. Looking for you. The answer was simple. Too simple. Behind him came more footsteps. Several men were advancing through the mansion. Searching room by room. Min-Jae looked toward the hallway. We need to leave. The elderly woman nodded immediately. He's right. Amara's mind raced. Questions flooded her thoughts. But there was no time. Not now. Another crash echoed downstairs. Closer. Min-Jae extended his hand. For a brief moment, nobody moved. Two people stood facing each other, separated by pride, pain, regret, and the memory of a terrible afternoon. The mall, the humiliation, the heartbreak. Every wound remained fresh. Yet despite everything, Min-Jae kept his hand extended. Please. The single word carried more emotion than any speech. Amara looked into his eyes. And for the first time since the mall, she saw genuine fear. Not fear for himself. Fear for her. The realization unsettled her. Then another shout erupted downstairs. Decision made. She took his hand. And everything changed. Rain hammered the roads as they escaped the estate. The black SUV raced through winding mountain highways. Lightning flashed across the sky. Nobody spoke for several minutes. The atmosphere felt suffocating. Finally, Min-Jae broke the silence. What happened? Amara looked out the window. You wouldn't believe me. Try me. She turned toward him, then carefully placed the journal in his lap. Read. Min-Jae opened it. At first his expression remained neutral. Then confusion appeared. Then disbelief. Then complete shock. No. He flipped another page. Then another. Then another. His hands began shaking. Because the documents were authentic. The signatures were authentic. The ownership records were authentic. And according to everything he was reading, his family's empire did not legally belong to his family. It belonged to Amara, the woman he had humiliated in public, the woman he had broken up with, the woman sitting beside him now. Rain battered the windshield. Neither spoke. Finally, Min-Jae whispered, "This changes everything." Amara looked at him. No. He frowned. It doesn't. She shook her head slowly. It reveals everything. The distinction hit harder than he expected. Because she was right. The truth hadn't changed reality. The truth had simply exposed it. And, somewhere behind them, powerful people were already reacting. 3 days later, the story exploded. News outlets, financial networks, international business analysts. Everyone wanted answers. Corporate lawyers worked around the clock. Stock markets reacted until one lawyer discovered a hidden transfer record. A transfer nobody could explain. A transfer connected to the missing third family. The room went silent. The date stunned everyone. 20 years ago. The beneficiary names stunned them even more. Because it wasn't a corporation. It wasn't a trust. It wasn't an investor. It was a person. One name. One signature. One shocking revelation. Kang Soo-min, Min-Jae's sister. Everyone stared. Soo-min looked horrified. No. The lawyer slid the document across the table. The records are clear. Min-Jae stood immediately. That's impossible. But the evidence was authentic. The transfer connected directly to the missing assets, which meant someone had used Soo-min's identity years earlier. The question was terrifying. Who? And why? That mystery led them toward an even darker truth. 2 nights later, Amara received another anonymous message. No name. No explanation. Only an address. And 5 words. Your father never betrayed anyone. She showed Min-Jae. They went together. The address led to an abandoned office tower scheduled for demolition. Empty. Silent. Forgotten. Or so it seemed. Deep inside the building, they found a hidden archive room. Hundreds of files. Thousands of records. Decades of evidence. Enough evidence to rewrite history. And there, waiting for them, sat a man everyone believed was dead. The man from the photograph. The missing business partner. Alive. After 18 years. Amara's knees nearly gave way. You. The elderly man looked exhausted. Older. Weaker. Yet unmistakably real. Tears filled his eyes. You've grown up. Amara couldn't speak. The room spun. Nothing made sense. Then came the second twist. The man revealed everything. Amara's father had never stolen anything. He had never betrayed anyone. He had spent decades protecting ownership documents because he knew someone inside the partnership intended to seize everything illegally. The true architect wasn't the Johnson family. It wasn't the Kang family. It wasn't even the missing third family. It was someone else entirely. Someone nobody suspected. Someone who had quietly benefited from every tragedy, every disappearance, every lie, every conflict. The elderly man handed them a final folder. Open it. Min-Jae did. His face immediately turned pale, because staring back at him was a photograph. A photograph of his uncle, Kang Hyun-suk, the man who had helped raise him, the man the family trusted most, the man currently serving as chairman of several major companies, the man everyone respected, the mastermind. Silence consumed the room. Amara felt sick. Min-Jae looked devastated, because suddenly every memory became suspicious. Every conversation, every decision, every coincidence. His uncle had been orchestrating events for decades. And worse, he knew exactly where Amara was. The confrontation happened 1 week later, during the annual Kang Foundation Gala, a luxurious charity event attended by politicians, executives, celebrities, international guests. Crystal chandeliers illuminated the ballroom. Live music filled the air. Smiles covered hidden agendas. Perfect masks hiding ugly truths. And standing at the center of it all, Kang Hyun-suk. Calm, elegant, untouchable. Or so he believed. The event was being broadcast live. Thousands watched online. Hundreds attended in person, which made what happened next impossible to contain. Amara entered first. Conversations stopped. Then Min-Jae entered beside her. Shock spread through the room. Then Sumin. Then the missing business partner. The ballroom fell silent. Hyun-suk's smile disappeared. For the first time, he looked worried. The third twist had begun. Evidence appeared on giant screens. Documents, signatures, transfers, recordings, witness statements. Decades of deception unraveling in real time. Gasps filled the ballroom. Phones appeared everywhere. Guests whispered. Executives panicked. Hyun-suk remained silent. Until finally he laughed. A strange laugh. A dangerous laugh. Then he revealed one final secret. A secret nobody expected. Not even Amara. Not even Min-Jae. Not even the missing partner. Because according to Hyun-suk, the ownership documents weren't the most valuable thing being hidden. There was another asset. Larger. More powerful. Worth billions. Something nobody had discovered. Something connected to Amara's father. And, before anyone could stop him, Hyun-suk revealed its location. The room erupted. Investors panicked. Lawyers shouted. Security rushed forward. Chaos consumed the gala. Yet amid the confusion, Hyun-suk smiled. Because he had achieved exactly what he wanted. Divide them. Distract them. Turn allies into rivals. One final time. Then he disappeared. Gone. Vanished into the chaos. Leaving behind one final mystery. Hours later, the ballroom sat empty. News helicopters circled overhead. Police investigations began. The world wanted answers. But Amara and Min-Jae stood alone on a rooftop, overlooking the city. Rain drifted softly through the night air. The skyline glittered below. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Min-Jae looked at her. What happens now? Amara stared toward the horizon. Somewhere out there, a billionaire fugitive knew another secret. Somewhere out there, billions of dollars remained hidden. Somewhere out there, answers still waited. She turned toward him. We find the truth. Min-Jae nodded. Together. Amara looked into his eyes. The same eyes that had once humiliated her. The same eyes that had later risked everything to protect her. Before she could answer, her phone vibrated. Unknown number. Again. The same way it had started. Slowly. She answered. Silence. Then breathing. Then a familiar voice. Calm. Dangerous. Unforgettable. Kang Hyun-suk. You found the first secret. Amara froze. Min-Jae's expression darkened. Hyun-suk continued. Now let's see if you're ready for the second. A message arrived instantly. Coordinates. A photograph. And one sentence. The sentence made Amara's blood run cold. Because the photograph showed her father. Alive. Taken only 3 days earlier. The call disconnected. Neither spoke. The rain continued falling. And somewhere in the darkness, a mystery everyone believed was buried forever had just come back to life. The end. Or is it? If this story kept you guessing until the very end, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more unforgettable stories filled with secrets, twists, and emotional journeys. Now tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in that situation? Would you reveal the truth and risk losing everything, or follow the clues into the unknown, knowing the next secret could destroy everything you thought you knew?